Alright, we're going to focus on your width. We're going to test you in a different position. Now, any great bodyweight strength trainer, including myself, will understand that the key to success when it comes to calisthenics and bodyweight strength training is leverage. You manipulate the leverage and you play with the leverage. So when we were talking about the push-up last time, I had you start out on the ground, but I told you if you needed to take things back a notch, you would push up against the wall. And my purpose for having you do that had a lot to do with manipulating the leverage. When you're facing the ground like this, you're kind of putting a lot of tension along the lines of the core, whereas when I had you up against the wall, most of the tension was against your shoulders and your upper chest right here, your pec minor area, your pec minor region. So when I have you facing the ground, depending upon what your hand placement is, you're going to be changing the focus from the shoulder, and you're going to start including other muscles such as the triceps, the brachii of the triceps. You're going to include, in a somewhat minute degree, the biceps, and you're going to also include the pectoralis major, the pec minor, especially depending upon what type of push-up you're doing. And you're also going to be working the upper back, the scapular region. And so, one way to manipulate the leverage of your push-up is to add an incline. Now you'll notice that when you do a push-up at an incline, it's going to be somewhat easier, always keeping that straight, hollow body, that globally flexed position, that pretty feather-looking shape when you're doing your push-ups. Staying straight, my head is forward. Now when I'm up, the ground is at an angle. Now I know the ground is right here, but the direction in which I'm moving is as though there is a ground right in front of me. So let's say if I have my parallel here, I've got the ground at an angle, so I'm going to pretend for a moment that my hand is approaching the ground, my nose is going to touch, and it's going to go back just the same way as if I was doing a push-up on the ground. So if I'm doing an incline parallel push-up, playing with my leverage as I was mentioning earlier, which is a key component, a critical component to bodyweight training, I'm actually having you produce more repetitions, because now I can have you do the exercise much easier because I've had you taking off some of the stress from the shoulder and the tricep brachii, and I'm putting much more of an influence on the pec major, the large pec muscles, which are a larger muscle group. So it's much easier to perform when all the emphasis, or most of the emphasis I should say, is going to a larger muscle, the larger part of the body. Whereas if I was, say, on the ground, now I've shifted some of the emphasis, some of the focus off of my pec major, and now it's also on my pec minor and also on my triceps brachii. So of course, when I've shifted some of the focus off of the larger muscle and onto some of the smaller muscles, it's going to get harder to do. So this is your step 2 in your push-up series. You're going to want to play with your width. That's what she said. So when you've got your width, it's close, like this, your hands are in a diamond shape, your pointer fingers are touching each other, your thumbs are touching, this is your diamond push-up. This is about as close as it gets. Actually, if you're really persnickety, you can go even closer than that. Your thumbs are pegged up against each other, and now your pointer fingers are also touching. This is a very close diamond push-up. Then you can also just move a little bit further out. You got a kind of a close grip bench sort of position. This is the close push-up. You come a little further, you're about shoulder width apart. This is your military push-up. Then you go even a little bit further out, and of course there is no set length to how far out wide you can go, but this would be considered wide. The moment you break that boundary between your two shoulders, you have performed a wide push-up. And now very wide push-ups, once you get to about around here, you started to take a lot of the emphasis off of kind of the typical push muscles right here, which is the pec minor, the pec major. You started to place more of the emphasis on the shoulder and the upper back shoulder girdle region, known as the scapula. So when you're going down, you're always in every push-up, all the push-ups that you do, you maintain that tight dish position, right? Hollow body, my head is straight. When I go down, regardless of how my hands are facing, my nose should always hit the floor. It should be in alignment with my chest. I come up, come down. I should be able to produce those for about three to 5 sets. of about 5 to 15 repetitions each. Now you can of course go over if you're doing, say, high rep endurance work, which is intended for conditioning or more anaerobic exercise, workout capacity. You're training a different energy system when you're going that high in those repetitions. But for some of you who are probably just watching this because you have no idea what you're doing, it's going to be very difficult. You probably won't be able to get to 5 repetitions, which is why I had you play with your leverage. Your best bet is to start high, and then aim low. Once you're getting to about up here, and you're able to perform them well enough, you move to the ground. Once you perform them well enough, then that's when things get a little bit tricky. Now I can play with my incline, just like I can play with my width. If let's say I have my feet up on a box, I'm going to use the parallel here just as an example. Then you're also going to move a little bit further out. Now you've placed in more of the emphasis on the shoulder. The same way the diamond push-up was hard because you placed stress and emphasis on a smaller muscle, same diff with the incline push-up. You have now placed more emphasis on the anterior delt region, which is right here, which is the shoulder, which is in fact obviously a smaller muscle than your pec minor, your pec major region. So when you're leaning forward like that, facing down, same diff. Now my feet are hanging off of the parallel. Normally they don't look that way. I didn't have a box. But you're going to go down. My hat's touching the floor. But your nose should hit the ground. And since it is a decline push-up, my chest won't be able to hit the ground as soon as the top half of my body, and my nose will. So that's what you want to work with for now. You're going to play around with your leverages. You're going to find the variety that suits your needs for strength. You're obviously going to play with the exercises that are easiest for you, and to master them, perform at least comfortably 10 to 30 repetitions. So that, for now, I'll leave with you to tamper with your widths and your leverages, play with your width, and that is your second half of your push-up series.